Alright, once upon a time, I missed round one of whatever weekly open we're on, but I was sent messages by both players, including that one had put down their thoughts on the game. So I thought I would read the thoughts and give my own and say, I could do a version where I just read their thoughts and leave it, but I'm feeling like I want to do a little thinking today. My brain has been doing a terrible job at everything today, so I want to give it something to be like, hey, you maybe can do this. Um, so we're going to be reading Vid's thoughts on this game. All I know about the game is that Vid did end up winning, and that Stuff did not like his hand filled with cards without sevens, and the much worse card, in my opinion, the rare. That's all I know from Stuff, and from Vid's side, I haven't read through his comments, I haven't looked through the game. We'll be figuring it out as we go. I'm gonna give his thoughts and then maybe give where I might be thinking different. So Vid starts, what are my cards? Lots of brute force, mostly to the left. This is true. 3, 7, 6, and a 4. We can also notice there is a 7 every direction but down. He's got softer cards with less brute force, lack of combos, more same plus and combo options. Sixes are generally covered by my 7/3s, so plus wall potential. Poo Poo is covered by 1747. 1747 seems crucial. What's my least useful card? 6565 seems to do nothing except possibly set him up, not me. I don't want same plus setups. I'll want defense or attacks. 6564 also seems like a pretty solid defense. Other than 4476 and 3, I've got most cards covered, and that also sets up something. His moves in 5 all seem okay, with more setups for him than less for me, but I'll try to direct the game afterwards. If he doesn't attack, 2 gives me safety. Alright, so I think this is saying as 6564 in 1 is played. Um, so 6564 seems to do. I read 6565. His typo, not mine. He meant 6564 seems to do nothing except possibly set him up, not me. I don't want same plus setups, I want defense or attack. So he's going for this as a solid defense. Okay, so where my thinking would differ, and I haven't really looked at the cards yet, is I would start by looking at my opponent's hand. And I've said this a lot, and I don't think it's like wrong to look at your hand or the opponent's hand first. But before I looked at my hand, I would want to know kind of if I have a 5 in that direction, but that 5 can't be taken. I want to know that. I don't want to look at my hand and interpret it based on the raw strength of what it appears to have, especially in a random game where, it's not like people are likely to have max numbers in every direction. I want to look at it in the context of their hand. So, especially when I'm on first turn, the first turn thing I'm going to do is come up with the super card of the opponent's hand. So, when I looked at our hand, I only saw sixes down. But when we look at their hand, we see those sixes down are dominant. Those sixes down cannot be touched, cannot be set up against. And the move Vid will make is indeed playing to take advantage of that. Oops, I got spinning wheel of death, but this move plays to take advantage of that. But I would notice our sixes down are really good. We have nothing safe going left because they have an A to the right. So their super card, their strongest number in each direction, is 5, A, 7, 7. They have a lot more potential, notably, to take sevens left than to take sevens down because 4467 has some plus wall potential, while 5575 has none. So our easiest safety is sixes facing down or 5 facing down, or partial safety. And our second easiest partial safety is a 7 facing up, of which we have 1 in our hand. Um, so my sort of initial candidate moves then would be either of the cards with a 6 down in 1 or 3, and 7, 3, 5, 6, and 9. And I would probably quickly discard 7, 3, 5, 6, and 9. It looks like they can take it. I don't see why we'd have compensation. So I would then be on 6, 5, 6, 4, and 1, or 3, or 3, 5, 6, 7, and 3. It's harder for them to go left than it is to go right, and it's hard for us to have counterplay against Poo Poo. So just because low numbers out are hard to set up combos against. So 6, 5, 6, 4, and 1 seems very, very plausible to me. One thing I like is given the opponent can only capture in 2, They can only capture in 2 with 6s facing down, which means if they do capture in 2, and he gets this at the end, if he doesn't attack, 2 gives me safety. Yeah, so if he doesn't take the card, 2 gives him safety, but if he does take the card, then we're going to get to lock in both 2 and 3. They will have only locked in 1 card. Now, they might have potential to set up in 5, and it's possible we'll want to go here. We'll want to keep both in mind. But a strong reason 2 is discouraged is it makes the game this fully up-facing game where it's going to be really hard for our opponent's cards to line up well. Now, maybe you could say they can set up a big plus in 5, but this has some risk attached. For instance, if we take, you're still going up too much, and you have no power going up. And maybe there's some hold here, but it's really easy for it to just be lost, and it is lost. When this is all red, that means it's lost. So like this position looks really dangerous to me. We could actually get the eval here. I'd guess there's a tie somewhere. Yep, there's a tie somewhere, but it's 5, 5, 7, 5, and 8. This is a tie that I would say is humanly possible in the sense that there are certain people who will realize the normal moves don't work and will play one of the other moves. Now, picking this one over 4 or 5 different chaotic moves in 7, 8, or 9, I think is mostly going to be luck rather than skill. Maybe if you look further, this one will make sense to you. But in general, whenever there's like one random card in 8 ties, no, this card does set up a threat in 5. You know, Deli's going to say this is findable. But this is one of those moves of like, you're looking for chaos. If you happen to land on this chaotic move, great. But you could have easily landed on another and no one has it calculated out the whole way. This is to say, this is an incredibly dangerous position. And so it's really hard for stuff to play going up because we have this pair of cards with a 6 down. So I like Vid Starter a lot. And I'm just curious how dangerous this is for stuff already, because this looks like a difficult situation. And we can see he basically has to play in 7, 8, or 9. And that's really interesting. I really like this visual. The programmer was asking when we were thinking of how to visualize this, do you want it to list a specific card like 3A21 and then all the squares it can go in? Or do you want it to be each card in each square? And I said each card in each square. And I think sometimes the other version's more helpful. But here, it's just really visually clear. 4, 7, 8, and 9 contain every single tie but 1. And that 1, as we already looked at, this move may technically tie, but it is also a nightmare. So if we go back, we can see this is just a position where you have to find 4, 7, 8, or 9. And that's interesting because stuff has such an up weakness. So the question is, which squares do you play in when you just can't go up? And the answer is 4, 7, 8, or 9. And those squares, you'll notice, are majority ties. Now, 4 is a very odd square. Like, this does not look like a very human move to me. And I would expect, I don't know, let's throw in this, that there are very few ties. No, there are a lot of ties here. I guess you're trying to make a wall, but the wall's not very stable. It is always weird with the A facing towards 5. Okay, maybe this is a much better move than I give it credit for. But 4 is an odd move for humans to make. Solvers like 4, the non-capture and 4 way more than most humans do. You do see some people who really like to play moves like this in closed. And also when I did face theory, it makes some sense. You're just saying, I have no play in 4 ever. I'm going to do something in 4. This is a square that's dead for me. I'm getting rid of it. That makes some sense. I shouldn't be like, this is incomprehensible. This makes some sense. 7, 8, and 9 also make sense. I think of these moves, despite the fact that 7 is the only one with a losing move in it. 7 is the most logical to me. I think of 8 as being, okay, I think there is a logic to each. I think there is a sound logic to each. 8 says, I want the game to be up-down. And you look at Vid's hand, and there are 3 cards that are very much side-to-side cards. So it should not be surprising that 8 is quite good here. My guess is the ties in 7 and 9 and 4 are a little safer than the ties in 8. Like, that the ties in 8 you're likely to be a little further behind, but still within tying range. That's my guess. I could easily be wrong. But Despite the fact that you have a lot of cards that are kind of neutral, whether the game is up down. This slightly prefers down, this slightly prefers to the side. These are completely neutral. This prefers to the side, but this is a garbage card. If I was going to play an 8, I'd probably chuck this here because I'd want it gone. Um, but looking at Vid's hand, it makes a lot of sense to make the game vertical, not horizontal. So, okay, I like 8. 7 seems quite logical to me. And probably now, I would consider 5, 5, 7, 5, and 7, which apparently loses. But something like this in 7, saying, if you go 2, I can start building out in 4 in ways that you have potentially limited captures on. Also appealing is something like this, setting up a threat in 4 and saying, if you don't block 4, I now have ways to play in 4. I'm setting up against the side I can't take, the adjacent corner against the strong side. One of my personal favorite ways to play. I have captures in 2. It's going to be a difficult game, but maybe I can play it out. I don't like giving up so much left power, though. Honestly, I probably would end up playing this card, which, as we know, is the worst card to put here. So that would have been thoroughly embarrassing if I had played this game. But 7 makes some sense. And then 9 is just often the nothing works this way directionally, but if I can sort of make the game directionally opposite, my cards work a lot better. And also, if I can pose challenges for you that are at all similar to the level as the challenges you posted to me, opposite corners can work. And yeah, it doesn't seem obviously appealing to me, but it does seem like a natural bailout response. Okay, stuff goes with 5, which is we already know is losing, but that doesn't mean this is easy to find. He goes 5 with obvious combo potential, and this move seems quite appealing. He has pluses in both 2 and 4. Yeah. I have nothing to cover 4. Right, there's no combo back on play in 4. And there's not, like, if 4 is taken, if 5, 6, 6, 5 lands in 4, your only capture is a pretty vulnerable card. So I have nothing to cover 4. 8 seems incredibly dangerous as it opens his combo up. Any card you put in 8, except 7, 3, 5, 6, is going to be weak to 5, and so you're building a combo chain. That makes some sense. I can't interact combo off his 5s, but I can combo off his 7 down through 8 later, so also wanting to leave 8 open, that makes sense to me. Also, my 1, 7, 4, 7 would become useless if the game becomes up-down, so 6 seems like an obvious choice. I like this thinking a lot. I've been doing more close thinking recently. I've been playing some close games. They've all gone up. I think I've been thinking through 1-5 type positions pretty well there. And my intuition for closed is kind of, if you have both 2 and 4, you play the slash, and if you don't, you play 2 or 4. But for open, this matters way more. We already saw stuff has a lot of ties by going in 8. Similarly to that, Vid, by playing in 6, has a whole bunch of initiative forcing the game side to side, where his 6-5-3-7, 3-5-6-7, and 1-7-4-7 all have sweeping potential. Yeah, I think 6 is very appealing. So, generally speaking, how I'd think through the squares is if I need to get rid of 1 or 2 or 4, you should consider 3 or 7. Whichever is the square you need to get rid of, you should consider the one next to it. So if you don't have 2 and you think they have devastating play in 2, you should play in 3, either forcing them to take 2 now or giving yourself a wonderful square in 2 if they don't, because you want the combo to hit when it's less damaging. Or if they're the only one with a capture on 1 from 2, you want them to be forced to play it so you can go 4 and get that lock in rather than they go 4 and you have nothing for 2. So if you're like, this is a square they have and I don't, I need them to be the one that plays there and me to play somewhere else, the instinct is to go 3 or 7. Or at least one instinct is. I don't think that, obviously, it doesn't look to me like there's any need to do that. One thing to note is against the Akiyama center play, where they set up against one side but not the other. But if you block the side they have really good play against that. So if this had set up 4 but not 2, but there was like a good punish if you went 2 by going in 3, A really nice way to get rid of those squares is also the 3 or 7 play, the adjacent corner here. But it doesn't make much sense here. If we're looking at captures or next to plays, we usually want to be building out safety or something very close to safety. So the only thing you'd really consider there is maybe 7, 3, 5, 6, and 4, because anything else you're walking into a combo chain or putting out low enough numbers that stuff is pretty happy to deal with it itself. I guess there's also a case for 3, 5, 6, 7 in 2, with the point that 7, 3, 5, 6 is a combo back on their only capture from 3. But then your 7, 3, 5, 6 is getting overworked because after they go 4, that's also your only capture there. So I really like in these structures playing to build out, but it seems pretty unappealing here. The most appealing version is probably 7, 3, 5, 6, and 4, just because it is at least safe, obliging, something in 2, and your idea is to grab 3 afterwards. And this position looks really promising. Yeah, this position's winning. They have to play here, so I think so that 5, 5, 6, 6 covers your 3, 5, 6, 7. And you probably don't have amazing coverage back. They also have coverage of here. I assume they're fine here. They're not fine here. 3, 5, 6, 7, and 7 is winning. Huh. I guess you have really good coverage of them going in 3, and your 1, 7, 4, 7 sweeps every endgame. So, like, the only card they can put in 3 that doesn't get comboed is this, but then you're up 6-4, guaranteed another capture. And the only capture they can make in 8 that avoids being comboed is here. Alright. Oh, there's a plus wall here. I missed that this was a plus wall. Ah. Yeah, so this is just game. Okay. So actually, this is really promising. So actually, in this position, do they have saves? They do, but it's 3 or a random card in 7 or 9. So this actually is a really good idea. And if I had noticed that we had this plus wall here, I would have, which I didn't. Now, technically, this version doesn't win because they have some counter setup in 9, whatever. But if I had noticed this plus wall, then actually this is really appealing because they don't have either capture actually working. And so I think building out can be really good, and this should definitely be a candidate move because it offers this half safety. It technically doesn't win, but it's really close. And I think that's a really good candidate move. Um, yeah. And sort of the way to think about those moves is, one, does my opponent have trouble going in 1 or 2 or 4 without me getting a lot of blood? And here, if we notice 1, 7, 4, 7 can combo 4, 4, 6, 7, and 3, 5, 6, 7 can take 5, 5, 6, 6 safely. Now that's a hard thing to notice because 3, 5, 6, 7 is not covered. It is only covered if 5, 5, 6, 6 is drawn out of their hand. So you have to do a specific calculation rather than a general one, rather than thinking, okay, they stick something in 2, what can I do in 3? Ah, that's covered. You have to notice, okay, I could use it the only time it's actually needed. But if you notice that, that can be a good reason to go in 4. But I think the reason you start checking 4 is just, do I have anything in 2 or 4 that's safe and I can build out from my starter? Because if I can go here safely and meet your only capture with more safety, then I'm going to have 3 safe cards on board. You'll have 1. I will have a target in 5. And it turns out 6537 just has amazing play everywhere here. But even without that, would be really promising. Your opponent often has to be really precise to hold these kinds of positions. So I think that's a really promising move. I don't think 3 or 7 is very promising. I like Vid's reasoning a lot on 6 versus 8, and I think it fits similarly to why stuff. It would have been a better move than what stuff played to play an 8 immediately. Is because stuff needs the game to be up down, not because his hand is good up down, but because Vid's hand isn't. And again, this fits what I think is the more useful way to start thinking. Again, not a strong judgment, but I think it's more useful to check the other person's hand first and kind of a quick check of what directions do I beat them in. But also, I would add to that, and I don't always do this, and I should, is do they want an up down game or a side to side game? compared to me. Like, who wants an up-down game more and who wants a side-to-side game more? That can be a really useful thing to add, because meeting that starter in 1 with a move in 6 for stuff would have been terrible, and I think losing many ways. But going in 8 would have tied no matter which card stuff chose, because making it an up-down game was that beneficial to him. And so that can be a really useful indicator, not just direction, but up-down versus side-to-side. 9, unless I have some big setup, doesn't actually interest me very much, and doesn't look super appealing here. So I like Vid ending up with 6. Now we know Stuff's move in 5 was losing. I think there's a very good chance the win is in 6. I think 4 was a good move, but I think there's a good chance. Let's press dump eval, see if my general evaluation of the squares looks good. Wow, in my face. Okay, we'll get to that, because that is a strong result. Now here the problem is the position is so good that most of the moves tie. And this is true in most good positions. And so there's a loss in 2. 2 is a kind of deranged square. There's a loss in 3. 3 doesn't make much sense. We did that. There's a loss in 7. 7 doesn't make much sense. 4 made more sense. 6 made more sense. 9 wasn't particularly appealing, but 9's fine. I'm really surprised that 8 has a win, though. Do you just have perfect combo coverage of everything? No. You have some huge setup. All right, 7356 is a huge bomb there. Okay, this is very computery. But I guess if you notice 1747 and 3 is a huge setup, but you don't want to play it immediately because it's bad in this structure, what move could you make that would leave it open for a future move? You could go in 8 or 9. I mean, you could go in 7, try to force 4, and then play 3, but that's kind of deranged. Yeah, okay, this is not a move I'm ever finding. If you would, awesome, this is a sick move. Well done. I like Vid's reasoning for 6. Let's hear more of what he says. So what card in 6? 1747 seems like last resort. We'll consider it last. I agree. 1747 is going to be such a great side-to-side sweeper. Now, if we dump eval here, just for reference, every move here is a tie. This does not mean they're all equal. Some will be much more pressure than others. And I like his reasoning. 1747 seems like last resort. I would also think 6537 is very likely to sweep on the bottom with the 7 facing down. That would be another card I would dismiss. I will first check 7356. It comes with obvious safety in 3 and 9. Yeah. 7356 can't be taken. That's a good first instinct. And this would be our second choice to look because it's 6 facing down is safe. And it leaves us with cards we want more. Okay. 6357 I shouldn't consider either. I wanted to potentially combo 5 from 8. Agreed. It is setups later on. Decent finisher for 9. Also has pluses in 5, and it has power left. Yeah. He means pluses in 4. A lot of typos in this. I've fixed a few in advance, but some of them I haven't got. I did decide against 7356, but cannot exactly remember why. Should have written it down immediately after making the move, but probably because going in 4 was way safer for him due to not giving up defenses. So here's an interesting question. What do you think? If we put in these 2 moves, which gives stuff fewer ties? This move is safe, but also gives up our 7-up that can potentially attack anything in 4. This move is not safe, but we have pretty decent coverage of many of the captures, and we keep our coverage of cards in 4. What do you think? I'm figuring out what I think. I think it's close. I'm going to say close, meaning within 2 or 3 ties of each other. So I think the big question is, if you go here, is it annoying if they go 3? And the big question is, if you go here, is it annoying if they go 4? And so, for instance, the line I'd be kind of having to make sure I think is comfortable for me is something like this position, which we can't go into. So I think 3 is annoying. So I think I'm leaning as this is the better move. Let's get a quick solver check. This gives 3 ties, and this gives 8 ties. So not particularly close. Now, in general, if it's close, if the number of ties is close, then you should like look, are those ties actually findable, and also like, yeah, if it's close, easily within margin of error, number of ties is not a particularly good count of who's ahead. But if it's not very close, that's usually saying something pretty strong. And so I think this would have been a bit better from Vid. And again, we liked this move a bunch, and if you're a solver, you liked this deranged move. Crazy move. Really above my pay grade. Okay, I did decide against 7, 3, 5, 6. So he plays 3, 5, 6, 7, and 6 here. But cannot remember exactly why. Should have written it down immediately after making the move, probably because going in 4. My next turn would be rather pointless. Both 7 and 9 give him a cards. So if he goes 6 and the opponent goes 4, if he'd done the other card in 6, 7, 3, 5, 6, and they go 4, my next card would be rather pointless. In this structure, you're considering 7 and 9. Those are the formation moves. Say here. And he's saying both of them give him a card that he could take, and because he has pluses to take 7s to the left. So I'd be down too far to catch up toward the end. My sweepers lose their power. Was this a tie, by the way? This was a tie. So maybe it would have been easier to tie here. So maybe Vid's move is better, even though it allows fewer ties, because that seems a pretty straightforward move to play. Also, the double 3, 5, 6, 7 and 6, 5, 3, 7 doesn't have a nice synergy. Especially the 3, 5, 6, 7 seems useless. The point of it would be to take back 6, the 7, 3, 5, 6, and 6. He's saying that 3, 5, 6, 7 in endgames here is only used to take back 6, but 6 is never flipped because it's safe. But 6 is safe, so there's nothing to take back. Eventually I decided for 3, 5, 6, 7. It enables a combo from 9 into 7 without fear of stuff returning via 8. Short. I also needed that 7 up just to attack his cards. If he goes 4, I can probably attack from 7. As then both 1 and 5 are both free. I can attack from 3 and also 9 either way. Move order doesn't matter. You can't take both back enough cards, so it should be safe for me. Okay, let's think from Stuff's perspective now. The game is side to side. That sucks for us. There are a bunch of types of moves here. Every single move here in the J has kind of distinct reasoning behind it. Unlike previous positions, we can't sort of group the moves. Like here, I was saying 3 and 7 are kind of similar concepts, but here every square has a kind of different concept. One move that jumps out to me is Poo Poo and 2. Because if we have combos in both 2 and 4, one way to play it is to slide in one of those squares. Okay, so the first thing that jumps out at me, and we already covered this, is I think 5, 6, 6, 5, and 3 is a good move. Vid can't capture without being comboed. And if Vid wants to play here, he is also risking combos. Not saying we take it immediately. We could also just take. I think this should tie. I think we already checked this. I am wrong. We lose. Because of the combo chain. Yeah, okay. So I didn't calculate this out well. Okay, so this one loses. All right. My second instinct is to block 2, such that we can combo back. This one also loses. I also haven't counted out the combos. Yep, same problem. Yeah, okay. So obviously, like in a real game, you take more time and you notice, hey, they have combos back. And Vid did notice this. Vid noticed the 7-3-5-6 hits hard. So, okay, problems found. We can deal with this. What's the next instinct? Well, we could also slide in 4 or play in 4. We could play in 4 with a capture of 5-6-6-5, or we could slide in 4 with the attempt to combo back with a 5-5-6-6. My instincts probably slide. So we can't use this card because it's our capture back card. We can't use this because it doesn't slide. So the question is Poo-Poo or 4-4-6-7. Neither of which are cards are all that relevant to the rest. This probably limits our opponent's options. This is my guess number 3. This also loses to 1-7-4-7 and 3. What a move. What a move. It just sweeps the endgame. Oh, that's sick. Okay. 1-7-4-7 and 3 is... Solver's fun. What a move. Okay, so my first 3 instincts here, all bad. Okay, if 1-7-4-7 and 3 is the problem, maybe if we had kept 4-4-6-7, because that doesn't get comboed at the end. Does this also lose? I bet it does, but nope, this one ties. Great job, me. Okay. There is a tie-in 4, and it is based on sliding, or at least this one is. There's a slide tie-in 4. This probably also ties in practice because 3 is just not a square people consider. Then I would also be checking 9, leaving 2 and 4 open, which is desirable. If you were going to play 9, I don't think you want to have... I think you want to have a 6 facing out, so it's very scary for them to play 8. Or a low number facing out. So the problem is, either card with a 5 or 6 facing out is a card we kind of want to have combos. This card has a 7 facing out, so our combo potential is way lower. This card. And this card has a 1 facing out, which means they kind of get 7, 3, 5, 6, and 8 for free. My guess is this is the best of them. And my idea is if they take, perhaps we can just play... No, because now they've set up a combo. I wanted to set up a win in 4 at the end, but we don't have the win in 4 at the end. Okay, but maybe we can slide here. Now we don't have a good way to. Do we? Can we get away with, say... No, not that one. Get away with this? With the idea that here we have this? No, that doesn't quite work. So we can't land with a 6 right and 2. Alright, I don't like the look of 9. I never check 8. I know Akiyama plays there. I'm lazy. It ain't me. And 7 doesn't look very appealing. Tough position. The only tie I found in the kind of 4 moves I had the solver check was there. Bet there aren't very many ties. Okay, more than I thought. 4, 4, 6, 7, and 3. So I dismissed this because it was comboable. But it does get rid of their key card, so when we combo back, suddenly things are safe. I guess this is a miracle tie. Looks like a tie, yeah. Okay. Alright, there's a tie. What else you got? There was a tie in 3. There was a tie in 4. It was Poo-Poo. Hard to find. There is a tie in 7. There are 2 ties in 8. Shout out to Akiyama. Boo me. And almost everything in 9 tied. So I definitely dismissed that too quickly. It does leave your combo potential the most alive. And it is hard to pick moves with distant combo chains when you're kind of talking through stuff rather than in calculation mode. But there's a lot of combo potential here. What was I worried about? just combo immediately, though, right? Yeah. Why was I worried here? Because if they combo back, we combo back much harder. Yeah, I don't know what I was worried about here. Yeah, okay, 9 looks good. All right, I'm getting everything wrong. Good work to me. Um, so stuff plays 4. And stuff plays 4 with 5-6-6-5. He doesn't use the sliding potential. He takes what he can. But I think like 1 and 5 are going to be cards he's going to be able to take back. I think sliding, if you were going to, I mean, we know 4 this was better. But even without knowing that, it seems to me your difficulty in this position is not going to be taking 1 and 5. It's going to be like getting extra cards off the combo. And if you flip them in advance, you can't get that. So we do know this is the losing move, but I do think it makes sense that it was losing. After he plays 4, I did consider other moves. Most weird one was probably 1-7-4-7 and 3. Oh, it's awesome. I don't know if it works here, but it does not. But it's awesome he considered that, because that means he might have found it against, what was my move? This? When this was the win? Which would have been sick. That would have been so cool if Vid won this game finding that move in 3. And that he considered that is really cool. Good for Vid. Where was I? As it 1-7-4-7 and 3, as it forces him into combos. I can combo back from 9, but then realized he can just play poo-poo and not combo, making me lose. Right. But in my variation, if you played with poo-poo, I want to let me move the cards. Then 6-5-3-7 swept. While in this variation, there's no analogous sweep. Andrew just down. But yeah, because 5 flipped, and stuff shouldn't want 5 to flip. So, okay. Pretty much the same idea behind playing in 2. If he goes 3, I could combo back, but then my final card leaves me nothing. If I combo from 8, he combos from 9. So instead, Vid went in 7. This seems to be all I have from the notes. Incidentally, this was he titled his Word document, Essay, Why Turds Ist Horrible. Excellent title for a thing. Yeah, this looks winning because the 2 cards left are so dominant side to side. Stuff really needs to have combo play. So, like, the move that comes to mind for me here is poo-poo and 9. Which is kind of sneaky, right? Because here, oops, you comboed. And here, oops, you comboed. Now, I assume you don't have to take the combo, but this is the only move that seems like it has something going for it. But this doesn't win. I can just go 8. And this doesn't win, because I can also go 8. And you can't go 8, because you can't combo back my 5. And you go 2? Is the win in 2? Either card you put in 2, but you only flip 1 card, so I don't... Is this a tie? Yeah, this is a tie. Ah, okay. I may have gotten everything wrong, but I found a sick tie in 9. Not that sick. But actually, this is vaguely reminiscent of a game I never saw, so maybe it's not reminiscent at all. If Turds watches this video, or Akiyama does, let me know if this is anything like the... This is a tie, not a win, but is anything like how Akiyama beat Yojimbo at the end of SC Adia, maybe? Because I know it was a T structure where Akiyama played in one of the far squares with a 1 facing out. So this feels really reminiscent to that. Are there other ties here? Nope, that's the only tie. Oh, all right. I got something going for me. That's all the notes we got from Vid. So what is the rest of the game? Stuff plays 8, which is the normal move to make. And tempting to play 8 before 2 just so you get the combo after, but it really hurts stuff that he flipped 5. That's just really tough for him in these positions. And 1747 just sweeps. Yeah. Nice win for Vid. I like how he played it. Having looked at it a bit more, I think his starter's really good. I think his move in 6 is probably better than 7356, especially because this loses, which is the thing that was discouraging me. And there was just a lot more dangerous. And it's sick that he considered the idea of 1747 and 3. That's an awesome idea, and as we saw, is actually the key idea here. I think in practice this would have been a little better than the move in 6, and the solver informs us this was winning. But I think the move in 6 is very logical, and that he correctly, I think, picked the right card to put in 6 when 7356 seemed so much more straightforward to put there. Really nicely done. Yeah. And then just plays out a straightforward ending where he sweeps side to side. Really goes to say how much sense it made to go in 6 and why a move like this is going to tie, even though it seems kind of disconnected from everything and not very useful. It's actually quite a powerful concept. Now, I'm curious what happens here, because I guess you can play something like this. Sorry, it wouldn't let me move. You can play something like this with the idea if you combo, I have combos back. So maybe you just go here. Is this alright? Nope, this is horribly losing. Oh, I didn't notice the plus. Ooh, that's goofy. Alright, well, before I get just everything wrong here, this seems like it's probably a difficult position. Yeah, a lot of red here. There are some ties, but like, are you going to play this move? That seems like a hard move to make. Maybe possible. Sets up a threat in 5. You know, it's not that you can't get there. It's that these are just, I think, really difficult moves to make in a tough position. So I think like going in 8 would not have been a very comfortable path, but it does make sense that there were paths there. Have I been talking forever? Yes. Okay. Thanks to Vid so much for sending thoughts. I enjoyed doing this. It was fun to talk through this game. I think Vid played a really good game, and Stuff had a very bad hand. Yeah, and the rest is very straightforward, so it makes sense he didn't send thoughts here. But a lot happening in the early moves. Interesting that 4, 7, 8, 9 really like. I remember Jadot used to talk about the boards as kind of having regions to it, and he might have had a good feel for like the region of the board you should be playing on here. Also, he liked to play moves in 8, the far side moves, and kind of goofy ones. Like a lot of people play moves in 8 when it's like a clear defensive like thing to build around, and he would play, you know, stuff like this. So I have a feeling Jadot would have not lost this game because he would have had a good feeling for the regions that would play well here. Um, like this specifically makes me think of the kind of game he handled really well. With like some weird combo potential, goofy moves and far sides, stuff where it mattered more where you played than which card you used. Just a bunch of stuff about this game screams to me, Jadot. Do you have anything else to say? That wasn't what was played. Do. I like the move in 6, even if technically there was a win. And I really like that Vid considered going in 3. I think that's the coolest thing. Alright, let's call it a video.